In the shadow of Rome's glory, there was a weapon unlike any sword or spear: dogs, bred and trained for war. Their massive jaws tore through enemies, their loyalty exploited as tools of domination. But behind the legend of these beasts lies another story, one not carved into Roman monuments. For the enslaved men who handled these war dogs, their fate was even more brutal than the animals they controlled. What happens when human lives are treated as disposable weapons, erased from history like pawns in an empire's conquest? Marcus was not born Roman. He was Nubian, dragged across seas and chains to serve an empire that saw him as less than human. Before Rome, his life had been simple: sunlit mornings with his family by the Nile, laughter echoing through clay-walled homes, a future where freedom felt natural. That life ended when soldiers stormed his village, branding him not as a man but as property. In Rome, Marcus was chosen for a peculiar duty: training war dogs. The Meletian hounds, enormous beasts bred from Greece and spread across the empire, were vicious in battle. To Romans, they were weapons. To Marcus, they were both his curse and his only companions. Though enslaved, Marcus found fragments of dignity in caring for the dogs. He whispered to them in his own language, easing their rage with tenderness the Romans mocked. But his position came with peril. When the dogs succeeded, Rome claimed glory. When they failed, Marcus bore the blame. Still, he endured, clinging to memories of his homeland. Yet as Rome's wars expanded, so too did its hunger for blood. Marcus began to see a darker truth. The empire used not only animals as weapons but men like him, foreigners darker-skinned, deemed inferior, to absorb its cruelty. And soon, Marcus would face a trial that no amount of strength or loyalty could shield him from. The drums of war thundered as Rome marched toward the frontiers. Marcus and his hounds were sent to Gaul, a land scarred by resistance. Here, he saw firsthand the Roman strategy: unleash fear before swords ever clashed. War dogs led the charge, tearing through villages, scattering people before they could fight. But Marcus noticed something the Romans did not care to see. For the Gauls, terror was not just in the teeth of the dogs, but in the sight of Marcus himself. His dark skin marked him as an outsider among outsiders. To the Romans, he was a weapon. To the Gauls, he was part of the enemy machine. He became a symbol of fear, though he himself was enslaved, stripped of choice. One night, after a raid, Marcus found himself staring into the eyes of a captured Gaulish boy. The child trembled, believing Marcus to be the monster who commanded the dogs. Marcus wanted to explain. He was no master, no conqueror, only another captive. But his silence, enforced by Rome's whip, deepened the boy's terror. That look haunted him. In camp, Marcus endured endless cruelty from soldiers who mocked his heritage, calling him an animal just like the beasts he trained. They threw scraps at his feet, laughed at his accent, reminded him daily that his worth was measured only in how well his dogs killed. The turning point came when one of the generals demanded a demonstration. Before a crowd of soldiers, Marcus was ordered to release the dogs, not upon an enemy warrior, but upon another enslaved man accused of defiance. The crowd jeered, hungry for spectacle. Marcus froze, torn between survival and conscience. If he refused, the whip, or worse, awaited him. If he obeyed, he would unleash death upon someone who, like him, had already lost everything. His heart pounded as the dogs growled, sensing his hesitation. In that moment, Marcus understood the cruelest truth. Rome had made him both victim and weapon, forced to embody the empire's violence against his own kind. The crowd roared, impatient. Marcus's hands trembled on the chains. The dogs strained forward, teeth bared, waiting for his command. The night sky pressed heavy over the arena of soldiers. Marcus stood in the circle, chains rattling in his hands, as the condemned man knelt before him. Every eye was fixed on him, their chants echoing, "Release the dogs." His mind split in two. One voice screamed survival, "Obey, live another day." The other whispered rebellion, "Refuse, even if it meant death." His heart ached with the memory of the Gaulish boy's terrified eyes, the child who had seen in him not a victim but a monster. The general raised his arm, signaling impatience. "Do it." His eyes seemed command. Marcus looked down at the dogs. They trusted him, not Rome. They followed his voice, his touch, his spirit. For once, he realized he held power. In a breath that seemed to stop time, Marcus dropped the chains. But instead of commanding the dogs toward the prisoner, he called them to his side, his voice steady, defiant. The beasts obeyed, circling him protectively. Gasps rippled through the crowd. The condemned man was spared, if only for a heartbeat. The general's fury was instant. Soldiers surged forward, weapons raised. The dogs snarled, lunging at their oppressors, no longer Rome's tools but Marcus's guardians. Chaos erupted, steel clashing, shouts piercing the night, blood spilling into the dirt. Marcus fought not for victory but for dignity, for a fleeting moment of humanity denied to him for so long. And as the soldiers overwhelmed him, beating him down with merciless blows, Marcus's final thought was not defeat but a freedom. For in refusing to be Rome's executioner, he had reclaimed his soul. Marcus did not survive that night. His body was broken, discarded as an example of what happened to those who defied Rome. The dogs, loyal to their last breath, were slaughtered beside him. To the empire, his rebellion was a footnote, erased from records, drowned in the chorus of victories carved into marble. But the truth lived on in whispers. Among enslaved communities, his story spread like fire, of the man who refused to be both victim and weapon, who chose dignity over obedience. The legend of Marcus and his war dogs became a symbol of resistance, proof that even in chains, defiance was possible. His story mirrors a reality that echoes across centuries. Empires may change their names, but the tools of oppression remain the same. Dehumanization, exploitation, the turning of victims into instruments of violence. Marcus's struggle is not only Rome's history, it is the world's present. From plantation fields to modern prisons, from colonial armies to systemic racism, the same question lingers. How long can human lives be treated as weapons before the truth breaks through? As we remember Marcus, we confront a chilling reminder. History is not only about empires and victories, but about those erased, silenced, used as pawns. His courage demands we ask ourselves, when faced with injustice, will we remain chained, or will we dare, like Marcus, to break the silence